Welcome back to my channel, Southern Cookologist. Today we're going to make simple Southern cornbread. 3 ingredients is all you need, and a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, but in about 15 minutes we'll have some delicious cornbread. I will go ahead and explain a little bit to begin with, just so we can get some things out of the way. I will be using my cornbread skillet. This is cast iron. It was specifically made for cornbread. I like it because it's nice and hot. It gets nice crust on 3 sides. You'll get beautiful little cornbread triangles like this right here when you're finished out. But if you don't have a cornbread skillet, don't worry about it. You can use, I'm gonna have to hold it with a pot because I just use it to make eggs, but you can use a regular old skillet. You can use cast iron muffin pan, small. Cast iron muffin pan, large. Fun little cast iron corn-shaped cornbreads. But if you don't have cast iron, cake pan, regular muffin pan, whatever. The only caution I would give is that not all baking pans are created equal. So if you have like the cake pan or your standard muffin pans, some of them are not rated for as high of a heat as I would typically cook at, because I do preheat my oven at 490 for my cornbread, just so that these cast iron gets nice and screaming hot and it can get that nice crust on it. Typically, I would go ahead and put my ingredients like butter or lard in here first, and then I'd stick it in the oven during the preheat phase. So I got nice and hot, but for a little bit more demonstration purposes, I'm gonna do it on the stove today. So cranking my burner up on high, and I'm gonna use butter. Now, my grandma used lard, my mom used lard, and it does create a nice little crust on there. But what I found, especially with kids, is that when you use butter, especially, this is salted butter by the way, it creates a nice buttery crust, which is super delicious. I've used this on coworkers, and I get raves about my cornbread about how delicious it is. And when they find out how simple it is to make it, then I'm not having to make it for them all the time. They cook their own cornbread, and it's awesome. Why I use cast iron? Yes, I do know that it is not the most efficient means of cooking. You read that they have hot spots, they don't heat evenly and whatnot. That is true. But this cast iron skillet is older than I am. I've had this, I think I got it from my mama before she passed away. That little skillet that I held up a while ago, I've had longer than I can remember. The cornbread, little corn shaped ones I bought because I thought it was cool, but I've seen those for as long as I can remember. Same with the muffin pans. I just like them. I like to make muffins as well, and I just like cast iron. It's easy to maintain. It lasts forever, and if you treat it right, then it'll last you a lifetime, and you can pass it on your kids. A lot of modern day stainless steel skillets like that, one, you can't put them in the oven because they have Teflon or rubber coated handles or cool whatever, or they're Teflon coated, which you can't put in the oven because they can't handle the high heats. They don't last as long, and I just don't feel like they're as good of quality. Now, I know professional chefs probably come at me and say, that's not true, these are best, made of copper, whatever. To each their own. You use what you got, but I typically like the cast iron just because they're easy to maintain, and they make delicious cornbread. They're so versatile. I can cook over open flame, electric, gas stoves, put them in the oven. They take it all. So I'll turn this up on high so I can get the cast iron nice and hot, because that's what's going to make our initial crust. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little pat of butter in each one of them. Like I said, you can use lard, you can use shortening. I guess you can use vegetable oil if you want to, because that's basically what shortening is, just a solidified form of vegetable oil. But I'm going to use butter for the reasons I said before. It's nice, it's easy. Pretty much everybody has access to butter. Not everywhere has access to lard, and shortening, vegetable shortening, Crisco, whatever. Well, it's okay. I just don't think it has a lot of flavor to it. Super simple ratio, 1-to-1. 1 cup of cornmeal to 1 cup of buttermilk. So you can get self-rising, yellow, white. Yellow is supposedly a little bit sweeter, but I haven't really noticed a huge big difference in the actual taste of it. White is typically a southern thing, I guess. I found that out via the Google, but I've always used white. That's what I grew up with. That's what I use. Buttermilk. Now, I've got my other one out here just to show you in case you're not familiar with buttermilk. Buttermilk, when it sets, you can kind of see right here, it's starting to separate a little bit. Doesn't mean it's bad. That's just milk protein separating from the liquid. So I'll put this one back in here so that I have buttermilk for later. This one I've already gave it a nice little shake, so we got it all nice and mixed up. You can see my butter over here is already melted, which is fine. We're gonna be waiting for that to actually start separating. You can already kind of see it. You're getting a little bit of brown. That means the butter's clarifying, it's separating, the milk proteins are settling, it's gonna start browning. It is not burnt, it's just the milk protein starting to cook. Plus, we're gonna be using it here pretty soon anyway. So 1-to-1 ratio, buttermilk to cornmeal. Get my fancy mixing spoon here. Nice little incorporation. You're just trying to get all the big clumps out. No fancy technique. You can use any size mixing bowl you want to. You can use a cereal bowl, whatever, as long as it'll hold the mixture. Matter. This is my little small prep bowl. I like it because it's just the right size. And it does the job well. So you're gonna get a nice little pasty mixture. It will coat your spoon and not fall off easy. That's what you want. Kind of like saying the pancakes if you ever make pancakes. But, all right, as you can see, my skillet's nice and hot. We got some browning going on. That means the milk proteins are starting to cook, but we're still good. Far from being burnt. All right, you're gonna go about a tablespoon per little triangle. If you're using a regular skillet, just dump it all in there, smooth it out, and you're good to go. If you're using a large skillet, you'll probably need to double this, or else you're gonna have cornbread crackers. Yeah, it's a little messy, but it's all right. Ain't nothing clean about cooking. Now this is self-rising cornbread, so you'll see it starting to puff up just from the heat. That's okay. I don't really know. I'm sure there's probably not self-rising cornmeal out there, but I have not found it, and I don't really care. All right, so we're gonna puff this in my 490-degree oven for about 12 minutes, and then I'll meet y'all back here to show you the end result. Now a little caveat while we wait. And I'm cleaning up my kitchen, which I'll talk about a little bit in a minute. But if you're using the cake pans, as I said you could use, you're gonna have to do a lower temperature, probably around 425 or 450. Doing that is gonna take your cornbread a little bit longer. So with cast iron, I'm looking at probably 10 to 12 minutes. And that's gonna vary between on where you're located at. If you're higher altitude, it may be a little bit longer. It'll depend on your oven. Not all ovens are created equal. So some ovens, even though they say 490, they're cooking about 470, or they may be cooking up about 510, 520. So that's why it's really important to have that, keep your eye on your food. So yes, I'm right here washing dishes, but I can see my oven right there. I got the light on, I can watch it, and I'm gonna be watching for that color, which we'll pan to the video right before we pull it out to show you what we're looking for color-wise. But as I stated before, the cake pans and stuff, they can't take the high heat. You still want to melt them or use something, or else it's going to stick. I would probably use a little bit more butter in the cake pan, or the larger, well, probably one pat for the cupcake pan or muffin pan. But if you're using like a larger cake pan like that, like I showed, or a glass pan, then you probably want to use, I would say, quarter stick of butter. That way you get a nice little layer in there. So when you pour it in there, it is spreads out and gives you a little bit of more of a non-stick dough. Now with the glass pans, you're not going to be able to preheat them that much because it's not great to sizzle. The glass, while it's great for baking in and it's all whatever, it will not hold the heat as well as metal will. So when you by the time you pull it out and set it down, and it's going to cool off to the point you may not get that sizzle. Not a big deal. You just probably won't have as much crunch on the outside of your cornbread as you would with cast iron. I like cast iron, as I said before, just because it's easy to maintain, it lasts forever, and it's relatively cheap. You can buy it at so many places. You can get it on Amazon now, whether at the lodge store, you can get it at Walmart, you can get it at Cracker Barrel, get it at a yard sale, antique store, whatever. You can find flea markets. You can find it all over the place really cheap, and just with a little bit of TLC, you have a legacy piece that you can pass on to your kids and your grandkids. But yeah, we'll get back to this cornbread in just a minute, but I just want to give you a little side note on those cake pans so that I didn't forget. All right, so just turned it off. We're at about 11 minutes. As you can see, nice and golden brown. That's exactly what we're looking for. You hear a nice little sizzle. So let me put this down and I'll be right back and we'll unpot this bad boy. All right, as you can see, did a little cleanup while I was waiting. Always make every minute in your kitchen count, because every minute that you sit there wasting is some minute you're going to make up later. So cleaned up a little bit, got all my stuff put away. Now this is hot, caution hot. See, we flip these up. And I do this just so the bottom stop cooking, because if you have it on the skillet, even if you preheat it in the oven, this cast iron is going to be super hot. So I want to stop that cooking process on the bottom, definitely. So we'll flip them up so they're ready to serve. Now, I'm going to put it on a knife because it's smoking hot. Nice, golden, all around. It's going to be good. The reason I also like doing the high temperature is because you get this nice crust on the outside. And then you're nice and fluffy on the inside. So you have that soft center. And I think that really makes for good cornbread. You get that bite when you bite into it. And then you get that little giveaway once you get through the crust. That cornbread's on point. I guarantee you, if you got anybody in the family that's from the South, that pan ain't gonna last long. Appreciate y'all spending your time with me. Like and subscribe, and we'll do more recipes. Keep country, keep it safe, keep cooking.